Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Creative Kickoff for Photoshop. My name is Terry White. It's my pleasure to be here once again live in front of you. I know it's been a minute because we had a week vacation and then some stuff I was traveling and doing, and just all kinds of things got in the way of these. But happy to be back in front of you. And unfortunately, this will be my last Creative Kickoff because the series has ended. So season or series finale today. That doesn't mean I won't be back for other kinds of live streams. I may revive the masterclass or my morning photography show, something like that. But for Creative Kickoff, this series is ending for me today, and for Photoshop, I believe today, maybe next week. But certainly, if this isn't, it's my last one. Let's put it that way. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and dive right into today's topic since we only have just a few minutes, like 23 minutes to be exact. So today we're going to be doing a popular request. I'm going to end it on the thing that you guys always want to see more of, and that is how I would edit your user-submitted photos. So I usually put up a link a few days in advance. People submit photos, and then I go through and show you my take on how I would edit them. And again, I see Patrick saying, oh no, like it doesn't mean that it's the end of my streaming. It just means it's the end of this particular show, this time slot, Creative Kickoff, so forth and so on. I will certainly be back to stream on other days and other topics and other shows, and we'll do this over and over again. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and dive in. I've got some submissions, and I'm going to show you my take on editing them. So just one more heads up, I typically don't do any critiques of this. Like, I'm not critiquing the photography. I'm just showing you my take on the edit. You can take it or leave it. You can do it your way. You can say, nope, I prefer the way I'm doing it. Or I'll incorporate some of the things you did and some of the things I'll keep doing the way I was doing them. This isn't you have to do it my way. This is just my way. All right, so let's pop over to my desktop here, and I've got my desktop up and running. And I've got several submissions this week, and I've got some that were left over that I always kind of move up to I mingle them into the new ones so that we can always get to your photos as well if we didn't get to them on a particular week. And so I always keep this running collection of photos that I didn't get to just in case we do the show and I don't have submissions. I do more of the ones I had in the past, or I mingle them in with the new ones. So we have new ones, old ones, just everything across the board. So let's start off with this one from, looks like from Nicholas. Beautiful landscape here. By the way, I'm in Lightroom Classic. I know this is a Photoshop kickoff, but I always manage my photos in either Lightroom Classic or Lightroom. So I manage your photos in a special catalog just for this class. All right, so now that we're here, I'm going to go ahead, excuse me, I'm going to go ahead and do the thing that I always do. So I always, first and foremost, I do as much as I can in Lightroom or Lightroom Classic. And then I only head to Photoshop when I need to. So Photoshop isn't a guarantee. It isn't I take everything into Photoshop, because everything doesn't need to go to Photoshop. So this may be one that doesn't need to go to Photoshop, but let's see. Let's head over to the develop module. Let's do the thing I do. So I always look at, first of all, is it a raw file? It is. Therefore, I'm going to switch it to camera landscape versus Adobe landscape. Either one of these will be okay as a starting point, but camera landscape uses the built-in camera profiles for this raw file. All right, so whatever, I believe this was shot with I could probably go back and see, but I think it was shot with a Canon camera. I could be wrong. Yep, Canon camera. So it's using the Canon profile. All right, so with that said, now I would do the thing I always do, the AI-based auto. So the auto tone usually gives me a great starting point. I don't always agree with every single slider, as I've said a million times, but it saves me from having to drag every single slider, because most of them it gets right. It gets into a point to where I would like them. Now, if there's ones I disagree with, that's fine. I can move any slider I want to better it or do more of it or less of it, but it gives me that great starting point. So for a landscape like this, vibrance and saturation I'm okay with. I can tell it definitely made the sky more vibrant and the water reflection more vibrant. It does not move texture, clarity, or dehaze. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of dehaze. I haven't met an outdoor photo yet that couldn't benefit from dehaze, so that's going the extremes. We can always double click the handle to get back to 0. I'm just going to move it over just a hair, like literally just like maybe +10. All right, now that I've got that, the white balance on this photo looks decent, looks good. It's as shot, but just reminding you that if it's a raw file, you can go in and change the white balance to what it should be. And you're asking, a lot of people, beginners especially, what should it be? And I usually just say, go outside and look up. Like if it was a daylight day, great. If it was a cloudy day, use cloudy. If you're inside, or if it was a shady day, you're under a tree, use shade. If you're inside, look at the kind of light that it was and just choose that. If you use the flash, use flash. So typically I'll toggle between daylight and cloudy, because even though this was daylight and cloudy, I don't know which one I'll like better. So daylight definitely made it bluer. Cloudy definitely made it warmer. You can go anywhere in between by just simply dragging the temperature slider. So if you don't like either of the presets, you can make your own custom white balance. So let's go back to cloudy. Yeah, I kind of like the cloudy a little bit better, just more of a warmer image. Now, the only other thing I noticed in this particular image is that it could be me. It's always my eye, but I can't tell if it's slightly crooked, because the horizon line here is going, that looks pretty straight, but this one looks like it's going off to down a little bit to the left. But that could just be the natural horizon line. It looks like that. So I typically go in and just test it by grabbing the crop tool, grabbing the angle tool. And like I said, this looks like it's pretty straight, but I'm just, oh, it is off a little. Yeah, see, to me, that looks more straight. And again, it's my interpretation of straight. You could say that it was straight before, but to me, that looks straighter, and I cannot stand a crooked horizon line in a landscape shot like this. Otherwise, the only other thing I might do, I noticed that, again, nothing wrong with this, but I noticed you gave it equal foreground, horizon, and the distance. I might experiment with a crop that does something like that. Just my 2 cents. I might experiment, because that way it brings the duck or whatever that is, that bird, a little closer, and it kind of makes your eye go up, as opposed to both of them being exactly the same. Again, just my 2 cents. And so this is one of those cases where, yeah, you're done. I don't have a reason to go to Photoshop. There's nothing that I need to do in Photoshop, so Photoshop isn't always a requirement. And great shot, Nicholas. That's pretty much it. All right, so this one I think has been sitting here a while in my collection. I can't remember like how long I've had this photo, but it's been a minute. So let's go in and let's do some things to it. So it's a raw file as well. Now, when I say it's a raw file, the way I know it's a raw file is when I go to the presets here for the profiles. If it's giving me profiles, then it's a raw file. If it only said 1 or 2, then I know it's not. So I would do camera portrait on this one to make it, again, use the portrait profile from whatever camera shot this. And then I always hit auto. And again, I may not agree with the auto, so this definitely brightened the photo up quite a bit. It almost raised it 2 stops, almost. I'm going to pull it back a little bit, because I don't think it needs to be that much brighter, but it definitely needed to be brighter. And yeah, like it doesn't really need a ton. Now we could get into, like, now I start looking at distractions. So I see little things on the ground that could probably go away, little things in the fence that could probably go away. The subject's fine. There's nothing wrong with the subject. Flowers look good. You know, like then it just becomes nitpicking. Like this grass is kind of brown in this spot. So you start looking at what's distracting me and what's taking me away from it. So since this is a Photoshop Creative Kickoff, let's head over to Photoshop. I could do some of this in Lightroom, but let's just do it all in Photoshop. I'm going to go ahead and hit Command E or PC Control E. That will take a copy of the raw file over to Photoshop. I'm in the Photoshop beta, You could have it set to the beta or the release version if you have them both installed. And now, for example, I might go in and I might see if I were to take, like I'm a fan of the patch tool, if I were to take this brown spot with the patch tool and just try and patch some of the green into it, yeah, I get some of the green. Quick, easy, love the patch tool. I've always loved the patch tool for retouching like this. And to kind of just easily and quickly get rid of some of these brown spots, just to make the grass more consistent. I'm not knocking your gardening. I'm just making the photo more consistent. If you looked at my backyard, I definitely have brown spots as well. So, all right. So now I'm just getting rid of some of the stuff on the ground. Again, nitpicky stuff. I can see some little notches or something. Oh, they're nails. So again, naturally occurring, like this fence was put up with nails. Okay, no big deal. But I might go into the AI-based remove tool and just simply click, 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 and quickly and easily get rid of those nails and those just grain or things that could distract you from the photo. And I see some lines in here. They're okay. But like any of these carvings that aren't really carving anything interesting, I might just go ahead and remove that kind of stuff. Like so. Quickly, easily, love the remove tool. It follows a long tradition of the healing brush and then the spot healing brush and now the AI-based remove tool. Very quickly, very easily. It's not using generative AI. It's using the pixels in the image. But it just does such an amazing job for cleaning up photos like this. All right, looking at the subject, nothing wrong there. So a lot of times we'll see things like, for example, if I were shooting this as a model shoot, I would tell the person to remove that like little band. It looks like a little hair band. So I might try the AI-based remove tool on this to see what it does. See how good of a job it does removing that. Does a good job removing that. So just little nitpicky stuff like that. And last but not least, we'll go up here in this corner where I see a nail and I see some vines. The vines are kind of dead. So we might want to just get rid of that nail. There we go. And then we start getting into these dead leaves on the vine. And like I said, I'm being super nitpicky. There was nothing wrong with this photo. It didn't need any of this, but this is not, don't do what it doesn't need. This is how I would edit the photo. And I get sometimes nitpicky, especially when it could just make the photo that much better just by cleaning up some of the distractions. All right, so again, I would take the time and go in and get all of that out, but you got the idea. And then I would hit save. And you might say, well, Terry, you didn't create a backup layer. You didn't create this. You didn't do that. You didn't do this. Because remember, we opened this from a raw file, so it automatically makes a copy. I already have a backup. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do it twice. So there's the original. So we can go original. And here's the cleanup version. So just, again, you just look at the things that would distract it from the beautiful subject, and you're just taking those things out. Okay, next one. Now this one, I got this one in this week's batch, and I'm not quite sure what you want me to do. In other words, I see it looks like a video screen, like a projector screen, and if I, just guessing, this looks like it's in a church. Are you wanting me to edit the image, like on the screen, or do you want me to edit the whole thing? And so I don't know what the intent was, but the person sent like 3 copies of this, and they're all in the church. So I'm assuming you want the church. So I'm going to go ahead and go to develop. Same kind of things. See, this is what I meant. It's not a raw file because it's only giving me these 2 profiles, so I'll just leave it on color. I'll hit auto. That, of course, brings out the church. There's probably a bunch of noise because this was shot in low light. Yep, there's a bunch of noise in the photo as well. But you know, for me, the most glaring thing right now is that the photo's crooked. Let's bring it back a little bit. Let's go ahead and straighten it out. And we can just rotate it, or we could use the straighten tool. But I have a nice long, nice straight line there for the projector, for the arch where the projector screen is. So we'll just straighten it that way. And there we go. Now it's straight. Now I can continue working on it because I couldn't get past the fact that it wasn't straight. So it brightened up the shadows quite a bit. I might bring the shadows back down a little bit more. And then what I might do is, because the projected image is so bright, and Nicholas, oh, is this your photo, Nicholas? He's saying screen, please. All right. Well, I'm going to work on the screen because that is one of the things that's bugging me right now. So because the projected image is so bright, I'm going to go in and I'm going to go to the mask. And I usually don't do it this way, but I'm going to go to mask objects. And I'm going to use rectangle. And I'm going to make a mask of this screen. So I'm just basically telling it, only pay attention to this part of the screen right now for everything I'm about to do. So now that I've got the screen masked, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down and go to dehaze, because that just looks so washed out on that screen. And now I'm not affecting the church because I masked just the screen as an object. So I can bring down exposure a bit because, again, it was super bright. There we go. Now we're dialing that in really nicely. Shadows look decent. Color temperature could be maybe slightly warmer, slightly. Saturation looks good. And oh, sorry, wrong temperature. There we go. That temperature is the one I wanted to move. There we go. All right. So that just brings that particular thing out a little bit. Oh, wait. You're not able to see what I'm doing. Hold on. Why can't you see the photo? I see what you're saying. And I've had this happen before, once before, where it stops projecting what I'm doing on screen. And I don't really have a good out for this, like other than rebooting. All right, let's see if I can do it this way. All right, there we go. Ooh, that was quick. All right, so now you're seeing, now you should be seeing the screen. So glad you said something, because I would have not looked over at that monitor to see that you're not able to see what I'm doing. All right, so now if I, yep, it's zooming. Great, you can see it now. Okay, so basically, here, let me, hold on, sorry, hold on. Let me get out of this. There we go. So basically, I can go ahead and reset it and show you all the things I did since you didn't see any of that. There we go. That's where I started. So that was the photo I started with. And so what I did is I asked about the church, and he said, no, he really wanted to concentrate on the screen, but I had already done the things to the church, including straightening it. And so I just used the grid to straighten as opposed to the straighten tool, like that. Great. And then I said, okay, I don't agree always with the things it did automatically, so I'll bring down the exposure a little bit. And then I said, okay, now I want to concentrate on the screen, and this is the part you probably missed. Okay, I was just reading someone's comment about the church. All right, so I went into masking. I did objects. And I did the rectangle because there's a brush also, and I just wanted to go ahead and select it as a rectangle. And so I just selected the whole screen. Now all my adjustments are happening just to the screen. So for example, if I scroll up and do dehaze, oh, sorry, Sorry. Scrolled up too far. Sorry, dehaze is not part of the masking. So I bring down the exposure a little bit there. If I increase or decrease the shadows in that, so now I'm just affecting the area of the photo, or the photo on the projected screen, not the entire image. And that's pretty much it. I did adjust the temperature. Don't want to change the hue. Just making sure I got everything I want within that mask. There we go. So we're really bringing this back. So because it was so overexposed on that screen. Yeah, we can definitely increase the contrast. That looks better. And okay, someone said they submitted, it's not this one, it's the church window outside. So let's get to that one in just a second. But that's kind of how I would approach this photo. So just basically separating the two and doing them as two separate operations. All right, church photo outside. I don't see a church photo outside, and I'm looking at the submissions I got. So if there's a particular one I'm missing here, let me know. Is it because I see more of the screen? That's the same image. So if I missed your photo, sorry, I don't see it here. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next one. And again, that would be my take on that one, is bringing the church exposure back out and bringing the screen exposure down to make those two work together. All right, so here's a photo. This is an older one that's been here for a minute, and I just want to go ahead and address this one. You should be seeing, I'm seeing what I'm doing. You should be able to see it now. Yep, you should be able to see what I'm doing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go to develop. And then I'm going to go in and choose, again, same things, not a raw file. So we'll just hit auto. Didn't do a whole lot. And what's really bothering me about this particular photo is the car in the background. Like, it's just that wheel is pretty bright because our eye automatically goes to the brightest thing in the photo. So we could do one of two things. We could just crop the photo because we don't need that tire, that wheel. We could also use lens blur to kind of blur it out. So let's go to lens blur. Let's go to apply. It's taking a second to figure out what the subject is. By the way, this creates a visual depth map for you so you could actually see it. And now I could go ahead and just blur, and it will blur that background out a little bit more. So that takes the attention off the wheel because we don't want to look at out of focus things. So our eye goes back to the subject. But like I said, in this case, that car really isn't doing anything that we need here. So I'd probably just go ahead and crop it out. All right, so now with that said, let's head over to Photoshop. Now, because this is a JPEG, it's going to ask me if I want to edit a copy. So it's still keeping a copy of the original. And now that I'm back, I'm going to go ahead and, or now I'm back in Photoshop, I'm going to go ahead and, like, he's got this line going straight to his head. And it's like all the rest are kind of the way they are. So again, I might just go ahead and, here, I'm just trying to think how I want to select it. Let's just lasso it. All right, so I might try the patch tool again, because that's kind of a quick and easy way to get a line that's already there that's not as bright, or I'm sorry, not as dark. But of course, then that's going to bring in it's going to kind of mess up his hair. Let me undo that and switch the patch tool mode to content aware. So there's two modes for the patch tool. And I could also grab my lasso once again. I don't need that much of his hair, so I'm going to hold down the Option key or Alt key to kind of subtract out. I don't really need that much. So now I can go back to the patch tool. And maybe I don't even need content aware anymore. Let's see, let's go back to normal. Yeah, it's still kind of blending his hair in, so let's go to content aware. And we'll just pull that up. There we go. And we'll just pull that back in so we don't have that harsh line going to his head. Now, the only other thing I might do in this photo is everything else looks pretty good. Yeah, that's it. I was going to say, I might bring up the liquify and kind of remove some of the wrinkles, but they look good. So that's our full screen. Before, oh, wrong one. Before, after, and again, we blurred the car a little bit more and removed that wheel that was distracting. All right, sadly, I am out of time for any others. So thank you for watching my final Creative Kickoff. Again, I'll be back for other streams. I'll be back for more how it edits your photo, but it won't be under the series of Creative Kickoffs. So different time slot. We'll figure it out. Let me know in the comments what you want to see more of. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.